There are a lot of controversial footballers. It seems that genius on the pitch seems to attract eccentric behavior. Maybe it's the money. We all have seen at some point in life how it can change people. Maybe it's because to be a great player you need to be eccentric on the pitch, to think outside the box, and that ends up reflecting in a more negative way in real life. If there is one eccentric and extremely controversial player that caught the eye of the football world much more than the rest of them over the last few years, it was surely this one, Mario Balotelli. His talent was undeniable, fast, powerful, with impressive technique and an eye for goal. What more could we ask for? Well, that he had his head set on the right goals, or that he was focused while on the pitch, maybe that he wouldn't throw darts at the youth team or set his house on fire with fireworks, or that he would get his cars impounded less often. I don't want to ask for too much, but 27 times seems a bit too much. You get the point. There's no doubt most of you know well who Balotelli is, but do you know where he came from, or where he is now? And the answer is not Brescia or Nice. He's playing in the second division, but we will get there. Unfortunately, he was born with a life-threatening digestive problem, and his parents, though they tried their hardest, couldn't take care of his medical bills, and by the age of 3, he would be sent into foster care. Soon after, he would be adopted by the Balotelli family. His new parents were pretty well off financially, and that would change his life forever. For a while, he would only spend the weekdays with his new family, taking off the weekends to visit his siblings, but at a certain point, the Balotellis would get his full guard, and he would even change his name, adopting the Balotelli surname. Despite his health complications, Balotelli picked football as his favorite pastime as a child. He joined FC Lumezane at 11 years of age, where he was the only black kid in the squad. By the time he turned 15, he was promoted to the senior squad. He was as much of a prodigy as he could possibly be. At that same age, he got a trial at FC Barcelona and failed, unfortunately, but the next year, Inter Milan would see him and take on the opportunity. Balotelli would dazzle on his debut, scoring 2 as Inter faced Sheffield in a memorial match. Then he would have his debut in Serie A, but only get 1 minute on the pitch, though 3 days after he played again, this time against Regina in the Coppa Italia, and got another brace. The second leg against Regina didn't go so well, and he didn't manage to get on the score sheet, but in the next round, he would be deployed against Juventus, and he would score yet another brace to get a 3-2 win for his team. Over the rest of the season, he would start getting some playing time here and there, getting 3 more goals. The next season, he would play the first match against Roma in the Supercoppa, and as Inter were tied 1-1, he came in for Luis Figo and got the goal. Though they'd still be forced onto penalties, with Balotelli also coming clutch and scoring as Inter went on to win. By November, he had become the youngest ever player to score in the Champions League. Other highlights of the season would come as he scored 2 against Roma, as Inter were, you guessed it, 2 goals down. And he also opened the score sheet in a 1-goal draw against Juventus, a match that would be notorious for the Juve fans relentlessly racially abusing him throughout the match. At this point, everyone thought this kid was bound to win a Ballon d'Or or 2. He was 18 and everyone knew about him already, but the next season, the problem started. By January, Mourinho was forced to ban him from playing for half a month, claiming a young man like him can't be training less than older players like Figo or Zanetti. One other thing about the season that should also be noted is that the Juve fans hated him, to the point that racist chants about the kid were heard even when they weren't playing against Inter. It got so bad Juve had to play with closed doors. Despite Inter's success, this only got worse and worse, and by the next season, Mourinho would have countless stories to tell about how ridiculous Balotelli's behavior was. One of them would actually become quite notorious. Mourinho told that in a match against Rubin Kazan, Balotelli got a yellow card in the first half, so Mourinho, scared he would be sent off, spent 14 of the last 15 minutes telling him, "Mario, I beg you, please don't do anything, don't touch the opponents, don't talk to them, don't even breathe next to them." A few minutes into the second half, Balotelli was sent off. You really couldn't make this up. By the end of the season, Balotelli was also being criticized by everyone else, even his own teammates, and then came the last straw. Balotelli went on live TV wearing an AC Milan jersey with his name on it. Probably time to send him away, right? Except Mourinho still gave him another shot. But then He threw his shirt on the ground after a match against Barcelona and the fans literally tried to attack him. And after something like that, there's nothing you could possibly do. And so, he was on the move for the first time ever, even though Inter would go on to win the treble. Mourinho is really not to be blamed here. Even Balotelli says he is a great coach and has no hard feelings towards him. His next club would be Manchester City, joining his former coach Roberto Mancini for a fee of 22 million euros, which goes to show that people still believed he could make it despite his behavior. But the start would be awful. First game for the club and he would tore his meniscus and need surgery, only coming back 2 months later. Once he came back, he did good though. 2 goals in 60 minutes against West Bromwich despite carrying a red card, a hat-trick against Aston Villa in the same week he won the Golden Boy Award, but once the second half of the season started, he slowed down and only got 2 more goals. As you might imagine, his antics hadn't just stopped. Over this last season, a video of him struggling to put on a training bib went viral. He was caught using an iPad to play Angry Birds while on the bench, and by the beginning of the next season, in a friendly match against LA Galaxy, he would get another of his iconic moments. It would be through on goal with just a keeper to beat, and instead of, scoring, he would try to do a roulette into the goal and completely miss. Mancini wasn't happy, and he came off immediately. When the official matches started, he wasn't doing so well, but a few matches in, he hit top form and Jesus Christ did he do well. Despite mostly not getting to play for the full 90 minutes, he went on a 5-match goal scoring streak, only failing to score in the next because he was on a pitch for only 9 minutes. If you only took in consideration the matches in which he played more than 45 minutes, he would have been on a 9-game goal scoring streak against the likes of Napoli, Villarreal, and even 2 goals against City rivals Manchester United. In total, the streak lasted for around 3 months, where he averaged a goal every 68 minutes. There is no denying his talent after something like that, and he knew it. So by October, in an act of retaliation, he celebrated by showing a t-shirt he was wearing beneath his kit that read, "Why always me?" As you might imagine, that became quite controversial. The rest of his season wouldn't be as effective and there would be a fair share of Balotelli moments, including a ban after a tackle on Sagna that would lead Mancini to claim he would not play another game in a Man City jersey and would be sold. But still, this could be considered one of his best seasons, if not his best ever, especially considering Man City would win the Premier League with Balotelli assisting the famous last-minute goal by Agüero that would inspire one of the most insane comebacks football has seen. And being third highest goal scorer for the team, behind Dzeko and Agüero, despite playing much fewer minutes, which would lead him to have the highest goal scoring frequency in the squad. At the end of the day, he had just been a massive help towards Man City's title quest. The next season's start would be stunted by some court hearings demanded by Mario in order to contest some fines imposed on him by the club. But by January, eager to accept his next move, he would accept the fines and take off joining AC Milan, a move that would still be valued at around 20 million euros. Among all of this, he joined Italy for his first international tournament, the Euro 2012, and it was an interesting one. His start was pretty bad, being most often remembered for his statements off the pitch. He even threatened that he would kill any fan who dared to throw a banana at him. His poor form was criticized by everyone, and fans demanded that Di Natale replaced him permanently, but Italy kept progressing, and in the semi-finals against Germany, Balotelli played regardless, and by the 36th minute, he had scored twice, celebrating the goal that would take Italy to the final of the Euros by ripping off his shirt and flexing his muscles as he stood motionless. This celebration was iconic, and it became even more interesting considering that a few weeks earlier he had claimed that he didn't celebrate his goals, because his job was to score, and a pizza delivery man doesn't celebrate every time he delivers a pizza. Ironic, isn't it? In the final, the mighty Spain national team of the early 2010s would destroy Italy, and Balotelli would be seen crying as he was unable to cause any impact. Once he left Manchester, Mancini showed that once again there were no hard feelings, claiming that once restored to Italy, Balotelli would become one of the best players in the world, and Jesus Christ was he right. He would debut against Udinese and get a brace, and he just wouldn't stop scoring. By the end of the season, he had played 13 matches for Milan and scored 12 goals, only failing to score in 4 of those matches. He would finish the season without ever seeing defeat while wearing the Rossoneri shirt, and just 4 goals short of making making it to the top scorers podium. When he joined AC Milan, were struggling for a spot in Europa League. By the end, his last goal would clutch a spot in the Champions League. The following season he kept on scoring, but not with the same frequency or level of clutchness. But to be honest, he wasn't at fault for that. He still far outweighed any other forward in the team. Rubinho would be the second best, though his 5 goals were nothing compared to Mario's 18. That season Milan went on several awful losing streaks, getting only 2 wins in 14 matches at one point. By the end of the season, they had only 1 more win than they had defeats. Absolutely tragic for a team like AC Milan. Over the summer, Balotelli would join the Italian national team for the World Cup, but just like in the previous year's Confederations Cup, Italy would not make it past the group stage, and with Conte taking over the squad, Balotelli would not manage to be called up for a tournament ever again, though he would eventually get a few friendly appearances under Mancini. Perhaps the previous season had disappointed Balotelli would once again move, joining Liverpool to try to replace Luis Suarez, which would be a hard task for sure. Well, Balotelli was awful at Liverpool. Awful doesn't even make it justice. It was horrendous, disgraceful, whatever you want to call it. By Christmas, he still hadn't managed to score a single league goal, but he did manage to get a terrible relationship with his coach, 6 yellow cards, and a ban for posting racist images on social media. During the second half of the season, he would only get to be in the starting 11 3 times and would never play the full 90 again. By the end of the season, Balotelli was easily considered one of the worst signings in Europe, so he was loaned back to Milan. His life back in Italy would start well, but 4 matches in, he would get a groin injury and he would be out for 3 months. Which would be bad on its own, but once he was back, it would be a long time before he was 100% fit, averaging 19 minutes per match in his first 9 matches back. He would only be able to play the full 90 in Serie A again in April of the next year, and by then, the season was almost over and his loan deal was ending. So he was sent back to Liverpool, and by then, Jurgen Klopp had taken over and there was zero space for Mario there. And though for a while it seemed he would not find a new home, on the deadline day he would get a move to Nice in France. As he was arriving there, he gave an interview where he said that signing for Liverpool was the biggest mistake of his life, and that both coaches were awful to him. His time at Nice was incredible. I remember hearing about his transfer and thinking it was perfect. That some time away from the spotlight brought upon him by larger teams would be excellent for him, and it really panned out like that. In his first match against Marseille, he would score twice to get the win for Nice. By his 7th match for the club, he had already gotten himself 7 goals. Though as per usual, he also got himself a ton of yellow cards. Well, to be more precise, 8 yellow cards and 2 reds in a space of 10 matches. Yes, you heard that right. The rest of the season would be less impressive, though still pretty good, and by the end, he would be the team's top scorer, getting a goal every 120 minutes, and Nice would qualify to the Champions League qualifying rounds. Still, Balotelli got his fair share of red cards, though it should be noted that he had motives for his emotions to be on edge, considering he had several problems over the season with fans singing racist chants and blurting out monkey noises whenever he touched the ball. The next season, Nice would get through Ajax but then failed to beat Napoli in the playoffs of the Champions League. But once that was done, Balotelli hit some of his best form in his life. Even though Nice were seriously struggling to perform in the league, it was an odd thing to see. Despite Balotelli going on a tear, getting 20 goals in 24 matches, Nice would still manage to go on a 5-match losing streak, which is odd considering that after that they would only lose 1 time in 12 consecutive matches, only to go back to poor form, going on 5 matches without a win. It truly just made no sense. They were a seriously inconsistent team, and Balotelli's goal scoring wasn't enough to save them, as they would only finish 8th in the league. The next season, a deal with Marseille fell through and he ended up staying in Nice, but it was awful once again. Missing training sessions, arriving late, fighting with the manager, and by January he hadn't scored a single league goal. And so they just let him leave to Marseille. Instantly, he would score 7 goals in his first 9 matches, despite barely ever playing the full 90. Clearly, Balotelli wasn't in bad form, he just didn't want to play for Nice anymore. By the end of the season, it would be easy to assume Balotelli would stay at Marseille. After all, he had been pretty successful so far, and though he did have a few Balotelli moments, they were mostly harmless, like celebrating by posting an Instagram story in the middle of the match, just, you know, Balotelli things. But then something happened. Brescia had just been promoted to the Serie A and they were looking to make an impact. They already had Sandro Tonali and Alfredo Donnarumma, a former Serie B top scorer, and they wanted to make a star signing. Tonali was often compared to Pirlo, so perhaps Brescia, being reminded of the times when Pirlo and Baggio performed magic on the pitch for their club, decided to go and ask Balotelli to join. Seems far-fetched at first, but Balotelli also had a sentimental attachment to the club. His dad was a local fan of Brescia, and when Balotelli told his family he could join, the joy in their faces proved to Mario that this was an opportunity he couldn't pass on. He signed the contract, with the condition that he would only renew if they managed to stay in the top tier. But then, the dream turned into a nightmare. Balotelli only managed to win 2 matches for Brescia across the whole season. The racist chants got to a whole new level and Balotelli must have been going through living hell, even though over that period in time he still managed to score a few goals. And this is how we arrive at the current day, where Balotelli has completed the most shocking of his moves yet, joining Monza, who just got promoted to the second division of Italian football. This might seem unexplainable, but in actuality, the club's president is Berlusconi, who was AC Milan president back when Balotelli was there, and having already convinced Kevin Prince Boateng to join, they seem to be trying to build a super squad to take over the Serie A in a couple of years. So far, Monza is second on Serie B, though Balotelli has yet to play the full 90 once and only scored 2 goals. It's hard to assess what's going on there, but maybe this will be the start of Balotelli's final redemption arc. And I know we are all looking forward to seeing this man perform magic once again. So yeah, that was it. That was Mario Balotelli's career in a video, or well, I guess what happened to him. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. It truly means so much to me. Like, please like the video. Like, it helps so much. I think people sometimes don't realize that. But yeah, see you next week. Bye. See you next